Hi everyone, welcome back to Soul Sync. I'm Jessica, and today I'd like to have some real talk with you about self-destructive thought patterns that keep you stuck. So let's get right into it. Number one is victim mentality. Now, victim mentality is incredibly common. A lot of us feel like we're the only ones, right? We feel like our story is the worst story. Our story is the biggest impediment to any progress that we could ever make in life compared to others. Other people have it easier than us. We tend to get lost in this perception of needing us to have it the worst, right? We're seeking to justify where we are by something that happened to us in the past, something happening to us now. And victim mentality really moves us into a disempowered state. We don't want to live there, okay? It's okay on occasion to sort of go through that loop, to have victim mentality thoughts, to feel a little bit down on our luck at times, right? To see external circumstances and say, oh, if this just had never happened, things would be so much better. However, we don't want to unpack and live there. We can acknowledge that those thoughts that come up are just thoughts, right? They're not us, they're not our identity, they're not even necessarily the truth, right? We're going to allow those thoughts to come up and we're just going to allow them to float. We're going to allow them to just pass right by, leave our experience. We are going to take a compassionate look at ourselves, shift the perspective of whatever event is keeping us in that, let's rephrase that, because the event is not keeping us in that mindset. We are keeping ourselves in that mindset, okay? So what we want to do is we want to be compassionate with ourselves to realize that we have now entered into a thought pattern of victim mentality where we are giving our power away to an external circumstance, to a person, to something said to us, to an event, a repeating condition or pattern in our life, and we are really disempowering ourselves and taking all of our power and giving it away, okay? And that leaves us feeling very stuck. This mindset can be very paralyzing. We're going to be compassionate. We're going to notice that we are engaging in this pattern. We're going to let our thoughts just float on by. They're going to exit stage left, okay? And we are going to find the best thing that we have learned from the experience. So we're not even going to think about what happened. We're not going to think about what isn't happening because that thing happened. We are going to say, what is the best thing that I have learned from this situation? And that's going to be your ticket out of victim mentality, because when you start reframing your mindset from this happened and therefore I can't, to finding what you learned, finding the wisdom you've gleaned, finding the silver lining, the hidden blessing in disguise through that experience, you're moving from that old mindset into one that says, this happened, however, I gained X, Y, or Z. This happened, and yet my life is still going on. I've still got a lot of friends. I have a wonderful job. I have air to breathe today, right? We have to express gratitude even for the everyday things we take for granted when we feel like we have nothing to be grateful for. So I don't even want to hear that I've got nothing going for me. My life is garbage. I have nothing to be grateful for. We all have something, even if it's just for the air that we are breathing, okay? Find whatever is closest and available to you and just shift into a state of gratitude. This is really going to help you polarize out of victim mentality into a state of appreciation for self, for others, for the world, for your growth. And it's really going to empower you out of that disempowered state. Number two is imposter syndrome. So this has been a buzz phrase, for several years now, this whole imposter syndrome in the workplace, where everybody sort of feels like they're the only one who doesn't know what's going on. Everyone sort of feels like others have it all figured out. They know more, they've done more, they understand more, they're capable of more. And imposter syndrome really kind of bursts our bubble about ourselves for no reason, right? That bubble doesn't need to burst. The bubble is healthy, that we have healthy self-esteem for who we are, where we are, our accomplishments, the people we know, the positions we hold, what we bring to the table, our unique perspective. And imposter syndrome really sort of negates all of that and pulls us off of a pedestal, puts everyone else up on a pedestal, and we hold ourselves apart from our own greatness, from our own strengths, uniqueness, and power. And the thing about imposter syndrome is that nearly everybody has this. So everybody's looking at everybody else thinking everybody else has got it figured out. Everyone's feeling like they don't have it figured out. So we're all doing the same thing, which means that imposter syndrome is kind of a joke, right? When you think about it, nobody will ever have everything figured out. The day you've got absolutely everything figured out is the day you're going to pass over to the other side. Because what's the point of being here if you know it all, right? So we really have to lighten up with ourselves and give ourselves credit, express appreciation for what we do know, what we have learned, what we've accomplished, what we independently contribute to the team that we're on, to the experience that we're having, and basically level the playing field in our minds between us and others and understand that they've got their own challenges. Perhaps our challenges in the workplace and theirs is at home with family. So they excel at work, or it appears so, because that is where they really feel free, like they can shine. And for us, maybe it's the other way around. The workplace is someplace we go, perhaps to earn a paycheck. I mean, we've all kind of been in that boat, I think, where it's like, you got a crappy job for a while and you're kind of just going to get the experience or the paycheck until something better is attracted into your experience by you. But when you go home, you feel really confident and at ease and you feel comfortable, and that's kind of your special place, right? And for others, it's work. So we don't need to get into all the details or psychoanalyze other people. We don't need to know everything about their lives and, where they're excelling or not excelling, business versus personal, professional, whatever. The point is, we just want to be less black and white about it, putting ourselves into an imposter box and everyone else into an expert box or a competency box, taking ourselves off a pedestal, putting others on it, because really, we are all in different stages of growth, learning, and experience anyway. So if somebody is excelling in their current position and you guys are at the same level, it doesn't really mean anything for the past or the future. It's just where you are right now. And for some reason, they're finding something very easy. They are just enjoying the process. And maybe there's something else happening in your life where you are working through some other things internally or otherwise, and your energy is just someplace else at the moment. And then 6 months down the road, it's going to switch. And, they might not be where you are. You may have surpassed them in some area. So allow life in your personal experience to ebb and flow without needing to rank people, okay? We don't need to rank or make assumptions about others' competency or our lack thereof, okay? We are all amazing for the knowledge and experience that we have gathered in our lifetime up to this current point, and no one is more of an expert in what we've experienced, what we know, and what we bring to the table than us. So we need to get rid of imposter syndrome, kick it out the door, give ourselves credit, allow ourselves to be confidently us, allow ourselves to embrace our greatness, while we are also respecting, honoring, and admiring others. We don't have to be less than or more than. We can all just be amazing and know what's going on or not, and be happy where we are, okay? Just do your best every day. Do your best in every moment. Take the wonderful lessons that you learn along the way and keep making yourself better, all right? So we're gonna let go of imposter syndrome and move on to number 3. Number 3 is us versus them mentality. And this is a little bit tied into victim mentality and imposter syndrome, in that we are creating separation between ourselves and others, or between ourselves and an experience. And us versus them mentality is really destructive in relationships, no matter what area of your life the relationships are. humans are social creatures. Everything we do in life has some social component to it, whether it's family, friends, work, hobbies, even just pondering humanity. Okay, which a lot of people would think, well, if I'm not interacting with people, then how is it social? When we ponder humanity, even alone at home as our own little independent philosopher, right? We are still observing social behavior and trying to gain insight or a perspective on certain aspects of human social behavior. Okay, so no matter what area of our life this may impact, us versus them mentality really keeps us apart from our greatness because it severs ties and creates distance in connections between us and the people around us. And really, when we are doing this us versus them thing, okay, and I've done this myself, okay, so there's no level of perfection here. It's really about fear, okay? So the us versus them is about fear, and there are often parts of ourselves that we have rejected as a result of social conditioning, or maybe we were shamed for something growing up. We were taught that a certain behavior is bad or repulsive, or money is a big area where this us versus them comes up. We're taught maybe that rich people are evil. They just take all the money and keep it away from everyone else. And so there's all these stories that are kind of implanted into our heads when we are young, when we are growing up, as we're experiencing the world, when we become independent after school. All these little stories that just get filed away in our subconscious. And when we encounter someone who's displaying a certain behavior or a certain lifestyle, or different tactics to achieve the same goal as us, and maybe they have more success, but we were taught that way of doing things is bad or evil, or it's not the right way to do it, the right way, right? No right and wrong. Just want to throw that out there as a reminder. We're taught these things, and so when we encounter someone that sort of triggers that within us, we tend to hold ourselves apart as a way of creating distance, to keep ourselves on the good side and put them on the side of judgment, of rejection, so that we ourselves are not rejected. So this is sort of a self-protective behavior that really stunts our growth when it comes to making new connections, to experiencing the world in a deeper way, and to expanding our consciousness and helping our personal identity evolve, allowing us to change and grow throughout life, to outgrow old beliefs, to adopt new beliefs. This us versus them mentality is really destructive when we are trying to form relationships, when we are evolving in life, taking it to the next level, but we keep hitting this roadblock where we find ourselves judging others, which is indirectly, of course, judging ourselves. So we want to let this go so that we can see the value in other people. We can observe ways in which they succeed where maybe we are not, but if we take some of the wisdom that they are offering us, we can adopt new ways of navigating life and relationships that will really help us flourish. Because not everything we learned growing up is true. Not everything we were socialized to believe, in our specific school with different role models we had throughout our lives, not everything is true. It's just one way of seeing the world, one way of doing things, a certain way of believing that the world works, and we can change our perspective and grow beyond the old self at any time. And this allows us to really step into our best lives, because we will start noticing a flood of new people with amazing gifts we never would have seen or known about or gotten to experience. Those people will start flooding into our lives, enriching our lives in beautiful ways, and we learn so much when we eliminate that divide between us and them, and we just allow ourselves to be a community of people that are doing life a little bit differently, seeing things a little bit differently, taking different approaches, and we all ebb and flow together. We all change and grow together, and that helps us all become more well-rounded, more accepting, and more compassionate. So we're gonna let go of us and them mentality. Okay, we're going to do that right now, and we're going to move on to number 4, which is self-abandonment. Now, self-abandonment usually is a learned behavior based on some sort of trauma. So childhood trauma, interpersonal trauma, betrayal from friends or coworkers. It's really a way to protect ourselves from being vulnerable and the opportunity for others to not accept us, the opportunity for others to not choose us. And so one way that I commonly see this displayed in people. And, I also was part of this group for a long period of time in my life. I was very shy. I didn't start out life very shy, but I became very shy as I experienced certain things with certain people. And it sort of brings you back into a protective shell. And when you go into that protective shell, you know that you still have to function socially in the world in order to have some sort of community. So even if you're not close with them, you sort of understand somehow that maintenance of a social network, however close or not close it is still something that's really essential for us as people. So as a formerly shy person going back into a shell, I really went through this tough period of time where it was really hard to make new friends. And I always just kind of felt like, either it just wasn't the right fit or they weren't really seeing me. They didn't really know who I was. And that was on me. And for a long time, I didn't see that, but it was on me. And that's because when I would meet new people, I was notoriously hard to get to know, okay? So first of all, if anybody enjoyed me enough in the beginning to keep hanging out, they eventually got to see more of me. But many people just didn't see what I had to offer because I wasn't showing it. And this self-abandonment that I was displaying was being hard to get to know. I would hold a lot within myself, keep my cards close to my chest, and I would just sort of observe the other. So there would be a lot of, them talking, and I would have, certain answers. I would even have a few pre-scripted sort of like things about myself that I could talk about that I felt pretty safe and comfortable sharing. But when it came to being very vulnerable and just unabashedly myself, completely in your face, authentic, showing up goofy, getting a little wild, loving to laugh, I really reined myself in. And that was self-abandonment because I wasn't letting myself be free to expand with this person, be free to show who I was. I wasn't allowing myself to accept or be proud of who I was. And the way that I saw it is that at the time is that, I wanted this person to demonstrate certain behaviors or conversational cues or tendencies that proved to me they were safe before I would open up. But that's not really how social connections work, right? Because let's say that you start a connection with someone on that foot, and then as you open up, they don't like you, and you are already deciding that because they were safe and accepting, you have now attached to them just as they're starting to pull away. Okay, and that's incredibly painful, especially when it takes you a while to open up and you're carrying some of those old wounds with you. So self-abandonment, we really want to overcome by, and this is just baby steps, because if you're pretty shy, if you are really introverted, if you find that your interests are maybe non-traditional, so perhaps instead of talking about sports or instead of talking about reality shows or a sale at a store, maybe you like talking about crystals. Maybe you like talking about more esoteric topics, like expanding consciousness and third eye activations, things like that. If you don't show that up front and you start forming a connection just on the grounds of deeming someone else safe, those people are going to assume you are one way because you have essentially tricked them into believing that what you are bringing forward from the start is who you are, right? It's a manipulation tactic to keep ourselves safe. There's no chance for deeper connection there. I should say there's minimal chance. it's very rare, right, that it'll work out because they've already kind of formed an idea of who you are based on who you've presented while you've been holding back. And they enjoy that you, that fake version of you, and you've deemed they're safe. So you are accepting them, right? Just on that, even if while they're talking, you know that you don't really have too much in common, it's more important for you to feel safe than to have a ton in common. But you'll never feel fulfilled when you're actually both fully engaging, because there will always be something missing because you didn't show up authentically at the start. And that's something that I had to take accountability for and change in my own behavior. And once I did, it was so liberating. I didn't see how it was possible for me. I didn't see how I could ever do it. It was so scary and intimidating to not approach new friendships, social connections in that way. But once I did, the first rejection is hard. The second rejection is still hard. Okay. But over time, you learn that those people were never meant for you anyways. And it's better to have a few deep connections with people that really see you and truly accept you, not the projection you're showing them at the start. They truly see you and your authenticity, your vulnerability. They accept you. And you really just jive from the get-go because you're both approaching it from a very authentic space. And that's so much more rewarding for me and for clients that I work with, for friends of mine who are out there meeting new people all the time. So much more rewarding and fulfilling to have those connections over the old connections when we were self-abandoning. So we are going to stop self-abandoning to fit in. We're going to stop self-abandoning to be accepted. We were born our unique selves. We each have a very special purpose here in our lifetime for us to embrace, embody, to carry out, to have fun with, to enjoy. And if we're not being authentic and vulnerable with ourselves, with others, with the world, it's very difficult to start living our best life because we are holding ourselves back. We are becoming something that does not align to our best life. But when we start making these small changes, when we are able to be brave and courageous and risk rejection, risk judgment, risk abandonment, right? When we're able to just show up fully embodied in who we are, not abandoning ourselves, unabashedly talking about what we like, seeing if other people like it too, putting ourselves out there, the right people can find us, right? It's like, if you go out and everyone's quiet and there's only a couple people talking and you want to talk, you're going to go over by the people who are talking because that's what you want to do. You don't know and can't learn anything about the wallflowers. There's nothing wrong with being a wallflower. We all bloom in our own time, okay? I want to just throw that out there first of all. But, the group of people who are holding back, you can kind of feel that energetically, and it's very hard to get to know them. There's a wall up. There's an energetic boundary there that's very difficult to cross over until they decide it comes down. And when we stop being that person, we allow others to feel our vibration, to feel the vibes and the energy we're giving off, and the right people can actually get attracted to us so much faster, and we will be able to more quickly identify right away who is a right fit for us. So we're going to get rid of self-abandonment. We're going to love ourselves, accept ourselves, appreciate ourselves, express ourselves, and step into living our best life. So I would love to hear your comments below. Which one of these you may have struggled with in the past, which you're struggling with currently. If you've overcome it, please share your story to help inspire others and spread some positivity here on this channel, giving others hope, motivation, and empowerment, knowing that they can do it too. Like and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye.